某些小仙女天天
I went on a blind date, and it made something very clear to me. In China, when a woman is independent, men simply don't know how to handle it. They treat you like you're one of them, like a man. As soon as we sat down, we started chatting. I asked him what he did for work. He said he was a lawyer. Then he asked me what I did. I replied casually, "I own a clothing factory." Immediately, he pulled a face, like he had just heard something uncomfortable. And without even trying to hide it, he asked, "How much do you make per month, on average?" I answered calmly, without hesitation. After I told him the number, he went quiet for a moment. Then said, "Yeah, this isn't going to work." He went on to explain that when a woman makes more than a man, the polarity in the relationship shifts. That the woman ends up having more say, more control, and over time, it throws the relationship off balance. Not that he thought it was wrong, according to him. But that when one side has more power, the relationship inevitably starts to fall apart. At that point, I just smiled. Because it was obvious. No matter how kind, balanced, or emotionally stable you are, to many men, if you earn more, you're already a threat. They say they want independent women. But the truth is, most of them can only feel like real men when they're the ones in control. And the irony? I wasn't there to compete. I was there to connect. But apparently, being too self-sufficient is still a problem, at least for them. I'm 38 years old. I've never been married, never had kids. At this age, I suddenly realized that the whole idea of female independence is a lie. I used to be so proud of myself, making my own money, getting a master's degree, buying a house and a car without taking a single cent from my family, without ever relying on a man. I was an independent woman, and I was proud of it. But now, I stop and ask myself, who put this idea in my head? Those words, female independence, tricked me. They made me work like a mule for years. They made me delay, and ultimately miss, marriage and motherhood. I'm a woman. So why did I live my life like I was a man? Women already have their own burdens to carry. Running away from the role of wife, mother, caretaker, in the end, no matter how much money you make, life doesn't feel right.
有些老男人啊，确实有钱。
Some older men do have money, and they really believe they can get any young woman they want. Even if they're divorced with kids, they still think these young girls are just there waiting to be picked. But let's be honest, the kind of young women they get usually fall into 3 categories. First type, girls who grew up in broken homes, raised without love, and naturally see older men through a romanticized lens. Second type, girls from extremely poor families with a deep hunger for money, willing to throw away any moral boundaries just for the cash. Third type, girls whose fathers cheated or were emotionally absent during childhood, and now unconsciously seek out older men to fill that father-shaped void. Of course, there are always these older guys who say, "That's not true, I date 22, 23-year-olds all the time." But I want to ask these men one thing. Have you actually looked at these girls' backgrounds? Where are they really coming from? I'm talking about girls from stable families with decent education, a proper job, even in small towns. Those only child daughters from middle-class families who never lacked money or love. Do you honestly think a girl like that would date someone old enough to be her father? Is it your manly scent she's into? Your refusal to shower? Let me be real, ever since I started working as a matchmaker, I've heard a lot of girls say they'd date for money. But when it actually happens, most of them can't go through with it. Especially those who were raised with love and don't need the money, they run faster than anyone. And you know what's even worse? I'm an independent woman. I studied, worked hard, paid for everything myself. I believed that would earn me respect and good relationship prospects. But now I see the truth, men with money don't want women who also have money. Because it flips the script. It threatens their position. They lose control. They don't want to date someone who stands in the masculine side of the relationship. And the broke guys? They don't want independent women either. They feel insecure. They compare themselves and feel small. At best, they might stick around trying to benefit off you, until they eventually run away too. So in the end, if you chose to be independent, you basically chose to be single. Sure, there's a slim chance you'll meet a man who earns more than you. But guess what? Those men are only chasing younger women. They don't want a woman with life experience, opinions, or history. They want someone untouched. Someone fresh. Someone they can impress and mold. They don't want a partner. They want a student. A blank canvas. A shiny new toy. Being an independent woman today feels like a fast track to loneliness.
你开的车越贵
The more successful I become, the more invisible I seem to be to men. Sounds dramatic? Maybe. But it's true. I'm a woman who built everything on her own. I work hard, I run my own business, I travel, I drive what I want, I live where I want. And do you know what that usually attracts? Silence. They don't approach. Or rather, they disappear. The truth is, men don't chase successful women. At least, not the way they chase pretty girls with no real ambition. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying I'm better than anyone. But I've realized that the problem isn't my success, it's their insecurity. They don't want to be with a woman who reminds them of everything they haven't become. For many men, a relationship is still a disguised structure of power and control, not partnership. They want to feel bigger, needed, irreplaceable. And when you've got your life together, when you don't need anyone to save you, that's terrifying to a fragile ego. I've been on dates where the guy asks, "So, what do you do?" And the second I answer, you can see it, the spark fades from his eyes. He gets quiet, awkward. Some smile politely and say, "Wow, that's great," then never text again. Others go further. They test you with questions like, "Would you ever slow down your career to focus on family?" As if being ambitious somehow disqualifies me as a real woman. And the irony? Even when we try to date down, give a chance to a guy who earns less or has less, it usually doesn't work. He starts feeling inferior. He gets defensive. Or worse, he starts quietly trying to bring you down. If you come from a traditional family, you already know. Your mom, even as a stay-at-home wife, had power. She ran the house. She controlled the mood. Now imagine a household where the woman earns more and makes all the decisions. What power is left for the man? That's why they stay away. They're not afraid of the rich woman, they're afraid of what she represents. And what does she represent? Freedom. Opinion. Choice. They don't want a partner. They want a follower. Someone easy to mold, easy to please, who'll keep their ego safe. But I wasn't made for that. And many women like me weren't either. So next time someone asks why successful women are still single, the answer is simple. Because men don't want women who are hard to impress. They want women who are easy to control.
为什么很多90后的大龄剩女们突
You know why so many women from my generation, the 90s, are suddenly waking up? Because reality hit us hard. And the ones who exposed it? The girls born after 2000. We grew up being told that relying on a man was weak, that real women are strong, independent, and make their own money. And guess what? I believed it. I studied, I worked hard, I built everything on my own. But now, in my early 30s, when I look around, you know what I see? Men running away from women like me. Yes, that's the truth. They run. They run from women who work too much, who think for themselves, who have opinions. And while we're out here trying to be the ideal modern woman, the younger girls, those in their early 20s, are marrying the best men simply because they figured out something we didn't. Looks and youth matter more than resumes or salaries. Last week, I went with a Gen Z girl to a beauty clinic. She makes basically nothing, like $600 a month. And yet, there she was, ready to finance eyelid surgery and skin treatments. Me? I didn't even consider that stuff until I hit 30. She already got the game figured out before 25. That's when it hit me. Being independent doesn't guarantee love, respect, or a relationship. We bought into this fantasy of just be good enough, but we forgot that in the dating market, the rules are completely different and totally unfair. I used to think investing in looks was superficial. That my degree, my career, my financial independence would speak for themselves. But in the end, none of it seems to matter if you don't fit into the package they want: young, pretty, available, and preferably easy to handle. And honestly, these younger girls are playing the game way smarter than we ever did. They know that youth is an asset. That beauty and body matter more than a CV. And they're using that to their advantage. They're marrying wealthy, high-status men, and a few years later, they become truly independent thanks to their husbands' resources and networks. Meanwhile, we, the ones who tried to do it all alone, are here, exhausted, single, and finally realizing that all that feel-good feminist talk sold us a nice dream. But in the real world, no one cares if you have a master's degree, make good money, or are self-sufficient. So if you still want a chance, wake up. Take care of your face. Take care of your body. Stop thinking independence is enough. We were lied to. And maybe, this is our last chance to flip the script.
今天讲一下最近30年资本
Today, I want to talk about how capitalism has brainwashed women over the past 30 years. Why have women's values changed so drastically? It's because of capital. This video might get taken down, but after thinking long and hard, I felt I had to speak up. The trend of capital turning women into commodities is becoming more and more obvious. Most women have undergone a massive shift in values in recent years, and many have been completely brainwashed without even realizing it. They lack independent thinking, so they don't feel manipulated. They think they're making their own choices. Some women earn $3,000 to $5,000 a month, but spend over $10,000. They insist on using the best cosmetics, carrying the most expensive bags, wearing only designer perfumes and clothes. Their foundation has to be luxury brand. Everything must be the best and most expensive. Capital keeps telling women, you were born a princess, you're a little fairy, you deserve to be pampered, you're meant to enjoy life. Women shouldn't suffer because they're royalty. Even at 40, she's still a delicate flower. Women must live refined, exquisite lives. First, it was, if he doesn't spend on you, he doesn't love you. Then women should be beautiful like flowers. Men should earn money. Then came little fairy, divorced princess, single middle-aged girl. Then women must treat themselves better. There are no ugly women, only lazy ones. And now, don't be a free maid. Don't become a haggard housewife. Don't do laundry or cook for a man. If you stay home, let the man do it. Don't have children for a man. Live for yourself. Be delicate. Be independent. All these messages are nothing more than capitalist marketing strategies, pushing women to buy more makeup, more perfume, more luxury goods, more everything. This so-called female independence, this freedom to travel and indulge. At the end of the day, capital is the one profiting. And every slogan, every catchphrase ends up objectifying women, turning them into products, as if being a woman means being a brand. In ancient times, during slavery or war, women didn't have romance. They had no concept of freedom. Men and women were both assigned value. Men were labor. They worked the land for landlords. Women were maids, concubines, and during times of war, men were just soldiers, a number. No one cared if they lived or died. Sometimes, women were literally treated as backup supplies, traded or used for survival. Humanity has evolved for thousands of years. Women finally broke free from being labeled as products. They can no longer be bought and sold. They gained freedom, love, autonomy. And yet today we're relabeling everything again. Now, to date someone, he has to spend this much on me. To marry me, he needs to buy this, give that. If I'm having his child, it better be worth it. I want a big dowry, a house, a car. He must have this, must do that. And this is love? Does this have anything to do with emotion? With real connection? Which part of this is tied to actual feelings? Your parents raised you. If we really want to talk about value, your mother raised you at a loss. She gave you 20, 30 years of her life, knowing that you might never repay her, and possibly not even take care of her in old age. So if we want to reduce everything to numbers and transactions, then yes, everyone is losing. But how can people have real relationships if we're all calculating and keeping score? If even friendships come with conditions and costs, why bother with friends at all? You might as well live alone. Be selfish, self-centered. Just live for yourself. Nowadays, when we talk about love or marriage, everything is material, transactional. Have we all become products? Everyone thinks they're being taken advantage of. But that's not love, that's a business deal. And honestly, girls, it's not entirely your fault. This is collective psychology. There's a phrase in social psychology. The more uniform the thinking, the lower the awareness. The less you think independently, the easier it is to follow the crowd. Stop and really think. Do you actually need makeup? Or did capitalism convince you that makeup is what makes you beautiful? Someone else gets plastic surgery, so you do it too. They flaunt materialism, so you chase it too. But what is it that you really want? Is it love? Is it companionship? Emotional intimacy? Do you want a man to walk with you through life, through hardships? Or do you truly believe sitting in a Rolls-Royce will bring you spiritual fulfillment? That living the so-called luxury life will make you genuinely happy? Throughout our lives, we're constantly being shaped by external forces. But every person should learn to think for themselves. Ask yourself, do I truly need this? Or did someone make me believe I should? A movie becomes popular, everyone runs to watch. A phone brand becomes trendy, everyone wants to buy. People think that's freedom. In Northeast China, people think they must wear mink coats. Isn't that a form of brainwashing too? This video might get taken down because it threatens the interests of capital. But to all the little fairies out there, please take a moment to really reflect. Do you really want what you're chasing? Or did someone tell you that you should want it, that you deserve the most expensive bag, the luxury item, the designer label? Think. A single spark can ignite a forest. Follow those who seek truth. Be a man who sees clearly. Be a woman who thinks for herself.
为什么有很多女生不谈恋爱？不是不
Why are so many women choosing not to date anymore? It's not that they don't want to. It's that there simply aren't any suitable men to date. Honestly, a lot of men nowadays are emotionally incapable of love. They don't know what love is, and they don't know how to show it. Sure, some men have decent jobs and good character, but even then, they still don't know how to love. Any woman with a bit of life experience knows. If you choose to date a man who doesn't know how to love, you'll end up being the one teaching him. You'll have to endure pain, exhaustion, frustration, and worst of all, many of them don't even try to learn. Some won't even fake it. They'll sit there coldly, watching their girlfriend break down in tears, and instead of comforting her, they'll try to lecture her, making her feel like an emotional fool. But women get into relationships to share their burdens, to ease their exhaustion, loneliness, and emotional weight. And when they end up with someone who doesn't know how to love, things only get worse. The pain, the loneliness, the emotional emptiness, it all gets heavier. Sometimes it feels like your soul is falling apart. You realize that if you're not the one constantly pouring emotional energy into the relationship, it just dies. Now, yes, there are some men out there with emotional intelligence and decent character. After a breakup, they reflect, they grow. And in their next relationship, they try to love better. But here's the problem. Someone had to suffer first for him to learn. The classic, one plants the tree, another enjoys the shade. And some women are just too tired. I'm already exhausted just trying to survive. I don't want to plant another damn tree for anyone. And that's exactly why so many emotionally manipulative men are still popular. Yes, they're fake. Yes, it's all a performance. But at least they spend time, money, and energy pretending to love you. They put on the show. And honestly, I kind of get why some women still fall for them. Because sometimes, junk food may be bad for you. But it still tastes good. And once in a while, all a woman wants is just a bit of flavor.
In the end, it's always the same story. People want everything but without giving anything up. Many women who call themselves independent, and yes, a lot of them truly are smart, successful, hard-working, still end up trapped in a familiar paradox. They want a relationship, but only with someone who earns more than them, who's stronger, more accomplished, and willing to accept everything exactly the way they are. But here's the thing. In a real relationship, both sides need to accept each other's terms. It's not just about what you want, it's about what the other person is willing to give. And when those top-tier men, the ones with money, power, and options go looking for a partner, they usually don't choose the woman with the perfect resume. They go for someone younger, less experienced, more flexible. Not because she's better, but because she's easier to fit into the life he's already built. Now, a lot of women say, I'd be fine dating a man who earns less than me. And maybe you would in theory, but in practice it usually doesn't work. Because sooner or later, the imbalance shows up. He starts to feel insecure. You start to feel like you're carrying more than your share, and the energy shifts. If you come from a traditional family, you've probably seen this before just flipped. Maybe your mother didn't work outside the home, but she still had power, real power. She ran the house. She raised the kids. She managed everything. She might not have brought in the money, but she had the final word on most things. Now imagine that same family, but the woman is the breadwinner and the man earns less. How much power do you think he really has in that house? How much say does he get? Not much. And that's the part no one likes to admit. That's why so many men avoid getting into relationships with women who are fully career-focused. It's not just about ego, it's about survival, emotional survival. No one wants to enter a relationship already knowing they'll have less voice, less presence, and less respect. And that's the irony. The stronger you become as a woman, the more rare it is to find someone who's strong enough or secure enough to stand beside you. And the truth is, a lot of those women aren't willing to compromise either. So maybe, just maybe, the problem isn't just with the men. Maybe the real question is, are you willing to give anything up to make the relationship work? If you like this video, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'll see you in the next one.